Giovanni, make sure you record in Zoom too.
Yeah, it's done too once it starts.
Okay.
Okay, you all are live right now. You can go ahead and start the meeting.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good
In the
evening.
absence of Mayor Rogers. Okay, we got a bit of a delayed response there. I don't think that was electronic. We're all winging it here. So one more time. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In the absence of Mayor Rogers, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of May 4th, 2020 to order at 6:43 p.m. and call the roll. Trustee Denton.
Present.
Trustee Steve.
Present.
Trustee House.
Present.
Trustee Brown.
Present.
Trustee Holmes. One more time. Good evening, everyone. We are waiting for Trustee Holmes to join us. Trustee Henyard.
Present.
Okay, we have 5 trustees present, therefore we have a quorum. I understand the village attorney, the village engineer, the village administrator, and I saw the chief of police and certain department heads are joining us as well. At this time, and as it was explained to me for the first time, and I should know better, that those of us that are on Zoom can access the participants by clicking, oh yeah, participants up at the top of the screen. Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to appoint a mayor pro tem to chair tonight's meeting.
I make a motion to appoint Jason House, Mayor Pro Tem.
Is there a second?
Second.
I go with Trustee Denton on that one. Okay. There being no discussion, I take it. I'll call the roll. Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Steve.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Holmes, are you with us yet?
Aye.
Oh, there you go. Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
Motion carries 6. Trustee House, it's yours.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us via the Zoom meeting. Just a couple of quick notes. I think we did this at the Finance Committee meeting, but just to reiterate for anybody that may be watching us for the first time on this platform, we will be taking citizens' address through comments that are coming in through our YouTube channel. So for anybody who has comments, please put your questions in there throughout the course of the meeting. At the conclusion of the meeting, the questions will be read and answered to the best of our ability. So we may make that announcement once or twice throughout the meeting, but just so that way everybody understands the format, we want to make sure we put that out there. Having done the roll call, I think we'll start. For those who may happen to have a flag close by, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And for those who don't, pull one up on your phone or use your heart. So we're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance and go into the prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
and
republic
republic
For which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
God,
indivisible,
visible, with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice
and justice
for all.
for all.
Take a brief moment for our prayer. So I'll lead us in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another day and another opportunity to gather. We ask that you oversee our village and in particular anybody that may be impacted or affected with the COVID-19. We ask that you keep everybody covered and in your grace and mercy. We know that you have a plan for us and we want to just do our best to do your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so for this one, we generally would do a citizen's address limited to the items on the agenda. And so I'll ask briefly if I can have Giovanni chime in really quickly. Have any questions come in to this point, or should we suspend that till the end of the meeting?
No questions have come in at this point.
Okay, so we're going to move past the citizens address limited to agenda item topics. Next thing on the agenda, we have the village clerk's report. So Clerk Dugan, please help.
Yes, on the agenda I have for approval are the minutes of the February 18th, 2020 Committee of the Whole and the March 2nd, 2020 regular board meeting. And as typical, I would ask for a motion to approve either or both together. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve both agendas collectively.
Second.
And that was a motion by trustee Denton, second by, was that trustee Henyard?
Yes.
To approve the February 18th and March 2020 board meeting minutes. Any discussion? If not, trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Steve.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Holmes.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. I do not have any communications this evening.
Okay. And as I'm looking at the agenda, it looks like I went slightly too fast. I did bypass general announcements, so I'm gonna recap back to that point and see if there are any general announcements to be made by the group as a whole. There
Yeah.
being-
I have general announcements.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to say good evening, residents. I miss you guys, and I hope everything is well and you guys are listening and shelter in place. Whatever you do, stay in the house. You can save lives. Remember that. Stay in the house. It's like I don't even know where to begin. It blows my mind that the mayor is not in attendance with us tonight. It's so predictable that we have all these emergencies going on in our village at this time, and our mayor chooses not to show up for a meeting that we so desperately need. This is the first board meeting we have held in several months, and he is not here. He can appear at Coffee with the Mayor, appear at his so-called food giveaways, and even attend last week's finance meeting, but don't come to our board meeting. Do you see what I see, residents? Don't you have questions for the mayor? Let me take you down memory lane for a second. This goes back to when he canceled our board meeting after the village suffered through those incidents of major crime in the community. And he said he took Attorney Murphy's advice not to hold a meeting. Again, do you see what I see, residents? This is unacceptable, and I encourage you to let him know it is unacceptable and inexcusable. Now, on a serious note, COVID-19, community, please listen up. Stay home, save lives. Coronavirus has hit our community hard. Our first responders and our residents have been affected by this. As of yesterday, per Illinois Department of Public Health and the medical examiner, here are the COVID-19 stats for our area. Area code 60473, tested 1,015 people. The number of people that has it, 237. Area code 60827, tested 877 people. The number of people that has it, 199. Our area code 60419, tested 938 people. The number of people that has it, 216 people. But the bad part, guys, we, meaning Dalton, have 6 deaths, 6. No other zip codes has had deaths but Dalton, and it is the largest cases of confirmed COVID-19 cases. Residents, if you need food, go to your nearest food pantry to get yourself a meal for you and your family that will last you for days. Avoid taking initiatives to go out and get a piece of fish, a piece of chicken that will last you for 30 minutes and have you potentially exposed to a virus and that you could take back to one of your loved ones. Your life and your life of your loved ones is not worth the risk of something so small and unnecessary. Residents, please shelter in place and stay home. I urge you, shelter in place and stay home. My next thing, I just got 4 questions, and I just want to put it on the record. This is all for the record, Mary Kay, that I'm stating today. The business license, and I guess this can go for Administrator Scott. I got calls from the business district. I would like to know, is it true that business have until May 29th to pay their license fee? Otherwise, it would double. That's my question to Administrator Scott.
Administrator.
So right now, Administrator Scott, right now, we do have the same dates in place for the licenses. If need be, we will adjust that. However, our main focus is that of the residents, such as not cutting water off and things of that nature. So we have had a steady flow of business licenses coming in. For the most part, we haven't had any issues. So people have been paying, they've been coming in. We have Sandra Phillips, who has been in constant contact with myself, Janice, and we are working around the clock. We are in the office every single day. And we've been in the office trying to make sure that although we do run a skeleton crew for the safety, that we are getting the licenses out.
Okay, so if they don't pay by the 29th, are we doubling their fees, or are we getting them extension? Do you have an answer for that?
That's something that we can discuss. That isn't anything that's been brought up before. So it's something definitely that we can discuss. However, we do have to keep in mind while we're making all of these concessions left and right that we do have to pay bills. We have to stay solvent, and we can't go bankrupt by giving away everything that the village has to offer.
Okay. Well, my suggestion would be
But
to,
I'm definitely,
of course, give people more
up
time.
for discussion, trustee, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm putting it on the record because a lot of people did call me stating they didn't have the funds, because I know that the board increased the fees and it wasn't double, it wasn't triple. Like say for instance, a business license was $100. It's now $425. So now if you double that by the 29th, most people don't have the funds to pay it due to the fact of COVID-19. So I'm asking that we do give them some type of wiggle room. I'm not saying be ridiculous with it, but at least show some kind of compassion to them paying it at a later date. So
Trustee,
just
can I
a
chime in on
Yeah.
that point?
Go ahead.
Trustee? Okay, yeah, my suggestion for them would be that they do call, that they call in so that they proactively are notifying, and I would ask Administrator Scott that we work with those who do call in just to communicate versus just doing a blanket extension. But I think that anybody who is having a hardship should be looked at case by case, but that would be my suggestion. So I'm in agreement that we work with people, but I wouldn't want to give a blanket extension to everybody because everybody may not need it, and we're creating extra work for ourselves.
Yeah, these just the calls
And
that
I do want to add also that we're estimated to lose around $1 million, $1 million a month. That's the expected loss for revenue coming into the village because we're not cutting water off and things of that nature. So we really have to think long and hard before we just give everything away and we have nothing left in order to keep the village running, in order to make payroll and to provide essential services for the residents.
Okay, my next question is, well, I guess it's a statement, but they are questions. Maybe I can get my answers to it later because I'm assuming this will go on the next agenda. It's regarding the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm just reading so it'll be on record. I received calls and complaints from the business community regarding the $100 fee, which is ridiculous. It increased, like I just stated. I gave an example. Say it's $100 in the past, now it's $400. Prior to COVID-19, what has the chamber done regarding growth, retention of current businesses and attracting new businesses for its members in community? That's the first question. The next question
I
is—
can answer that, trustee.
Okay, go ahead.
May I, trustee House, may I be recognized?
Oh, yes, please.
I spoke with the Chamber of Commerce some time ago and communicated this to Ms. Phillips in licensing. The fee that was charged to the businesses last year, the $100, it's actually dues for membership in the Chamber of Commerce, because the chamber did not manage to activated as it had hoped and planned this past year. They are carrying over that fee that all the businesses paid last year, effective for this year. So they do not have to pay anything. They do not have to pay the $100 this year. It will be credited to them just as if they had paid it again twice. So they are currently dues paying. If they paid last year, they are currently dues paying members of the Chamber of Commerce and will continue to be so until next year when the Chamber takes another look, I guess.
Okay. My next question is, what is the Chamber doing during this pandemic to help grow and retain current businesses and attract new businesses in the village? Do you know that
I
one?
believe I included that in my answer. The Chamber has been largely inactive even prior to the virus. So at this point, I don't know that anything has changed.
Okay. So if they're inactive, why do they want to keep people money? They should refund them their money and not keep it, because they had a year to figure out what to do and they haven't done anything. So
I guess
that would be my statement
They
to
are
them.
not active in the, certainly no one anticipated the current situation, but a year from now, it would be appropriate to ask that question and ask if it's still status quo, ask for a refund. I don't know that they would have a problem with that from what I heard, since they came to us.
Okay, well, I will be asking, put that on the agenda to at least the board consider giving them a refund or figuring something out, because we're not handling the funds. We are, from my understanding, we gave them the funds. The village collected the money, which was $25,000 or so dollars. And then we gave it to the Chamber, and the Chamber haven't done anything. And if you're a business owner, who will want to join a Chamber that's inactive, that don't do anything? You join something because you get something from it. So my advice would be to remove it and give it back.
Well, that would be for the Chamber to do, because the ordinance classifies that $100 as dues owed to the Chamber of Commerce, which you're quite right, the Chamber of Commerce has collected, and it's up to the Chamber of Commerce to refund, period.
Now, if I want to
But we made the law, so we can retract it. We can retract the ordinance and not make that due.
So trustee, if I can.
Going forward, for sure.
I did have a conversation with some board members of the Chamber, specifically about some of the concerns you're mentioning as well. I will be adding it to the committee of the whole agenda for review of the moving forward fees and things that we collect and what we do, so that as a board we can discuss it. But I share your feeling of more things could have and should have been done. I think we all collectively have said it's been mostly inactive, so we wouldn't want the business community to be charged for something that's not giving them a benefit.
Okay. And I support that. So on the next agenda, just for the record, we want to add that on there, Mary Kay, the Chamber, that ordinance. And the last thing is cannabis. I'm not sure, I don't know if it's Elizabeth or Mary Kay. Is there a cannabis shop going up on 142nd Street? And if so, who approved it? Do anybody know that answer?
Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem, may I speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, so not to my knowledge, no, we have no cannabis business coming at this point. Things kind of slowed down when the coronavirus hit, and I haven't had anyone else reach out to me as far as licensing or inquiring about cannabis for the moment. So I'm surmising that all of this came about because of the coronavirus, but it's definitely slowed down. A lot of the offices, including government offices, are closed right now. So from what I've heard is that it's pretty much nothing's happening right now.
I can speak to the fact that a number of businesses have come to the village asking the clerk to sign off on the fact that they would be in compliance with the local cannabis ordinance that the board had passed. But that's the extent of our ability to regulate. That sign off is part of their application to the state, and it's up to the state to approve. And I'll defer to Attorney Murphy for further if need be.
Okay. And lastly, it's really just a statement. You guys, we haven't had a board meeting since March 2nd, and I just found it ironic that we don't have nothing on this agenda to talk about. We could have just put coronavirus on there just to inform the public of what's going on and what the village is doing moving forward. But I don't want to see another agenda with nothing to talk about. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. So now that we're having meetings again, thanks to Jason House, he had his Zoom video, and now we having ours, which the village should have been did this. We should have been proactive when this first hit, not wait 2 months before we actually talk to one another, you guys. So I would like us to improve that moving forward and have more board meetings. End of my report. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments. Going next to the agenda is our engineers report. So Engineer Smith, please.
Good evening, elected officials and residents of Village of Dalton. My engineer's report was emailed to everyone this morning. Just items on my report. One, there is a DCO grant that's available. There are 3 separate grants. One is due on June 30th. The other 2 are being accepted on a rolling basis until funds are expended. Please, I can provide more details if you want to give me a call or email, but we will be applying for some of those grants. The grants don't have a match that's required, so that's great for us. The final item on my engineer's report, the Village of Dalton received funding, CDBG grant that Administrator Scott and myself had applied for in 2019. So we do have funds slated for this year, so we can do some street resurfacing as part of that grant. That ends my report for this evening, and I will entertain any questions.
Okay.
One question, what was the amount we were awarded?
We were awarded $100,000.
But that'll cover 2 blocks, correct?
That would cover a couple of blocks. We had applied for 400,000, but we only received 100.
What's the average amount that we received?
What the average amount that we typically receive is about 200,000 each year. About 200,000.
Is there a specific reason why it's only 100 this year?
Well, the village was very fortunate enough to get $100,000 out of about 12 municipalities that typically apply for this grant funding. I think only about 3 had received funding, including Dalton, out of 2019. So.
How many blocks will that cover, did you say?
Just 2.
Did we earmark those 2?
Those blocks were included in the grant application that was submitted last year.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Okay, well, thank you for your report. I'm going to move right into our committee reports. The Finance Committee report. That's last week we did have a Finance Committee meeting, so I want to thank the administration and all the elected officials that were able to attend and give input, as well as the residents who called in with comments. I think that we get good feedback. We're getting growing feedback, I would say, from the Finance Committee. I'm getting more and more questions being called, asked. Some good, some not so good, but all feedback is good and is well received. So I want to encourage anybody within the village to please continue, because I think that we all push one another to be a better community. So any feedback that you have is welcomed and appreciated about the questions that are going on within our finances. Our report was a difficult one to give because we are going through a period of layoffs as well as financial uncertainty coming up. So we want to make sure that for those who are, please keep the village's finances in the mind as we look at different concessions that we want to make. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're humane. So we want to get feedback from everybody. Continue sending your calls, your questions, your emails, so that we all work together. And those who are able to help, I think we've gotten a lot of people doing giveaways and feedback and working together. We want to keep doing that, but I want to stress that we want to keep moving forward. There will be another Finance Committee meeting the last Wednesday of this month. I will announce the date during our Committee of the Whole meeting. And then the one item for follow-up that we discussed was the RFP for the forensic audit. I did have a conversation with our finance department, or Chris, as I'm sure we all affectionately call him now, on the RFP follow-up. So I'll just do a recap of what we started doing and then the conversation that we had on Friday and the plan moving forward. Upon approval of the audit from the board, we did hold a meeting to get some agenda items together for the RFP proposal. I know Trustee Brown, Trustee Henyard, and myself all had interest in attending the meeting. So we discussed with Chris. I believe Trustee Henyard had a phone conversation as well. So we have a list of task items that we want to have included on there. As I spoke with Chris on Friday, the template itself has not been identified which one to go with, but we do have a list of items that we want to be included for the draft. He indicated that we should be able to have a draft together by Friday of this week. So with that being said, that draft will be for the board's review and to look at items that we may want to tweak. I did hear some concern from residents and others about having the Casperate group create a RFP on a audit that they would be overseeing. Two ways that we look to mitigate that are the fact that we do want to make sure that the board thoroughly reviews it, and we include the things that we want to have on a proposal. Some of the concerns were that a forensic audit may cost more than what we can afford. So the purpose of this RFP strictly right at this moment is to get a cost, because it's hard to say that something's going to cost too much and we do not have a price. So once we have this, I want the board to really weigh in heavily, look through it so we can make sure we have a good RFP going out and something that that we can all live with. If there are anybody who has suggestions on others that can prepare the RFP, we're more than welcome to do it, but we don't want to stop a process just strictly waiting on looking for somebody else in particular in this difficult time. But it's going to be more on us to make sure that we band together and get the right stuff, the right information in there. So if this proposal or the draft is not prepared by Friday, I've enlisted the assistance of Trustee Henyard to be the militant. Come on, you better break that bullhorn out now to step up and do some follow-up as well to make sure that the proposal, at least the draft, goes out, so that way we can get a price and make an informed decision on how to move forward. So that was my follow-up item from the Finance Committee meeting. Having said that, if there are any questions about the Finance Committee, going once, twice, sold. Next, we're moving to the Housing Committee, which is Trustee Brown.
Good evening, everyone. For the Housing Committee, we have no report available. We have been working with a skeleton crew, so hopefully next month, I will assure you that we'll have a housing report available for next month. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next is Police and Fire. I know Trustee Holmes is with us via telephone. I'm not sure if you have a report that you wanted to make, or if we'll hold that till next month.
Yeah, what we'll do, as you know, I'm dealing with a situation at the hospital with the family. Ask that the residents be mindful and keep their ears and eyes open for criminal activity, even though we have had some shots fired in the village of Dalton, but nothing serious. But we ask that you keep your eyes and ears open, even criminal activity that are coming in and out of houses. And give me a call or 911 a call and be safe.
Okay, thank you for that report, Trustee Holmes.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Chief Mobley.
Hey, Chief
I understand Trustee Holmes had an emergency, but I did send him the stats. I have them before me if you all would like for me to read them off to you.
We would love for you to read them into the record, please.
Okay. During the month of April 2020, the police department responded to 1,616 calls for service. In addition to responding to calls, the following activities was recorded. Traffic totals were 39. The previous month, 696. Parking violations were 33. The previous month, 155. Criminal arrests were 33. The previous month, 58. Warrants were 0. The previous month, 2.
Okay, thank you for those stats. Any questions from the board on the Police and Fire Committee? Next up, Public Works Committee, and if you have any input on the Melanie Fitness, Trustee Steve?
Yes. How's everybody doing tonight? This is a report from Matt Stacy. Public Works with the COVID-19 is still out cleaning up the community. Public Works is working from Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Homewood Disposal is still picking up brown bags, retreat branches, as long as they're tied up in 4 feet sections. And we are working to fill up potholes and picking up tree branches. So Public Works is still out there working. I will be having a Public Works Committee meeting because due to this COVID, I don't know the exact what's going to happen with the manpower there, but we will be talking about that out of Public Works Committee meeting. So just keep your ear to the email blast and to our website and to our social media pages. So the Public Works Committee meeting will be coming up sometime this month. I want to move on to Melanie Fitness.
Okay, please do.
Melanie Fitness, which is a blessing that the last 3 months we've made over the January, we did 23. I think February, I think we did about 16, 17. In March, we did 15. So, over the past year, 2 years, we've only been doing $3,000 to $4,000 a month at Melanie Fitness. So we set a goal to hit 15. We hit at the last 2 months. The first month we hit 23. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19, we had to shut the gym down, and we shut the gym down, and we laid off all the workers over there. So it's a serious time. Keep everybody over there in their prayers, because there's a lot of seniors who depend on that place for health and wealth. Health and health is your wealth, but they depend on that place. So Melanie Fitness is down right now. We only have one part-time manager. I think he works maybe 10 hours just to come in and check on the place, phone calls, and we still have somebody maintaining the pool, and that's an hour, 2 hours a day. So we're down bare minimum at Melanie Fitness. So if we this thing is as this thing evolves, we have to really look at our finances to see when can we really responsibly and have the money to reopen Melanie Fitness with this COVID-19. So that's the reality of Melanie Fitness, what it was doing before COVID-19, and now it's shut down. So it is down right now, and then we'll see what happens once this thing works out.
Okay.
Are we still collecting monthly fees from the residents?
There was a very few amount of people who paid monthly. It was pay as you go. That was one of our marketing schemes, or say marketing plans, was to pay as you go. So majority of people paid, you pay that month, and if you don't come back the next month, which is good and bad at the same time, you can sell it that way, because people say, well, I don't want to be locked into a contract where they're taking the money out of my account. But majority of people pay as you go. And then majority of people pay, we would have the 3 month special. So right now, really we're dealing with re-up. People pay January for 3 months. So right now, dealing in February, if we'd have made it to right now where we're at, they would have paid for another 3 months. So it's where nobody's paying nothing right now. From my understanding, I can check into that, but it was really much pay as you go.
Okay.
Thank you. One question, Trustee Steve. For those who paid for March, we will have, once we are able to open back up, we will have some type of credit to those people who paid for March and didn't get to finish out the month of March, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. There's a lot of people paid up to March to all the way to May, so we have to credit. We have to figure out, everything's in the system, so we have to look at who paid and definitely credit them.
Thank you.
Trustee, you said you couldn't have a meeting for Public Works, or you're
No,
not
I
gonna?
said I will. I said I will have a meeting this month.
This month, okay. You don't have a date yet.
No, I don't have a date yet.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions, Public Works, Melanie Fitness? All right, thank you for that report, Trustee Steve. Next on the agenda, we have our corporate bills. So I will read the bills into the record and then make a vote. We do have 2 sets of bills. I'm going to do them one at a time. We have the electronic bills, which comes up on the warrant list, anything that comes automatically out of the bank account. And we have our bills that are paid via check. So I'm going to read first corporate bill register number 163, which is our corporate payments, has $914,472.21 worth of corporate payment registers. Gross payroll for April 10th was $376,383.96. Gross payroll on April 24th, $308,401.30. Melanie Fitness Center register of $3,155.62. Payroll for April 10th, $5,219.69. And payroll for April 24th, $4,517.69. Total corporate payments, $1,612,150.47. So on this register, I'm making a motion that we pay this with the exclusion of a payment to Bukarski and Son, $32,540, which is on page 8 of the register. And I'll comment on my rationale for the exclusion in the comments. But I ask for, I'll make a motion that we pay that with the one exclusion, and I'll ask if I can get a second.
Question. When
We
is
need
the
a second first, trustee.
Second.
Okay.
Second by
So
trustee
we have
Henry.
the motion and the second. We'll go into discussion. So on this item, initially last month we had this item came up for payment, and we did I voted for a 50% payout on this item. The one thing that I was looking for in order to move forward with the balance, it is a service that has been completed. It is a service that we will owe the vendors. This item exceeded our budget, and in looking at it, I contacted our finance team, Chris, to see what is our process, how did we exceed the budget, and also discuss what is our policy to catch things so that on a move forward basis, we have procedures in place that we do not exceed the budget. Now, I think we exceeded this budget by about $60,000. Chris did send in a response on Saturday on his proposed policy. There were some areas in there that I think we could have been a little bit more concise to make sure that we don't. So as we have a policy that I think the board is comfortable with, then I will give my support to move forward with the payment on here. But I want to make sure that if we have an oversight, which things happen, but the dollar amount, we want to make sure we don't have those things happen. So I will be putting up that policy or the discussion for the policy for the finance committee as well as the rest of the board in this month's finance committee meeting. Assuming that we resolve the policy issue, then I will vote to move forward with the payment. Having said that, my vote was to pull this one out. Any member of the board is free to vote as they see fit if they disagree with that. But my reason for removing it is I want to make sure we have a solid policy moving forward. And once we have that in place, I vote to pay because I recognize this is a service that has been completed, and we do owe the money.
Trustee House, one question.
Yes.
I know that we talked about paying half of the bill now, correct?
So yes, we did talk about paying half the bill now. Last month, in the month of March, we paid half the bill.
Okay.
And after completing the payment of half the bill, that's when I had the discussion again with our finance team. I sent an email to the finance committee and some of the administration about the policy. And it looks like we're still in that discussion period. Had we concluded with the policy for the board that we're all comfortable with, I would be voting today to pay it. Right at this moment, we haven't got a policy that I'm comfortable with that is strong enough to make sure we don't have the problem again. So we'll put it in finance committee so that we don't drag it out much longer. However, right now, I don't have a policy that I'm comfortable with moving forward.
So we're going to approve to pay everything else but the remaining balance of this bill, correct?
My vote is to pay everything with the exception of that. The board is free to vote yes, pay everything, or well, the vote that we're holding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Kay, would be pay everything excluding this. If you're in disagreement and would like to pay everything, vote no to this, and we will have to bring up a new vote on all the bills. But if we're in a majority in agreement with holding this one back, then it'll move forward.
Correct. There's a motion and a second to approve.
I got a question.
I'm sorry, trustee, just let me clarify. Right now, there's a motion and a second to approve the Register 163 corporate payments minus the payment of $32,540 to Pekarsky and Sons. So when the board is done discussing that motion and votes on it, if the motion carries, then that's how it proceeds. If it does not carry, then someone would need to make another motion.
Okay. Trustee Steve?
Yeah, the question I have is that if you say you can vote on paying it when the process is in place to make sure this don't happen again. The question I got though, if we put this bill off and we're going into a month where we're projected to lose $1 million a month in revenue, and then this bill comes back up, or will this even be paid once we're about to start losing this revenue that we're going into? You know, will it even be able to be paid after this if we don't pay it now?
So my thought on that is I would anticipate we will have the money going into next month's bills. It'll be in the cycle just as all of our remaining bills are, and we have to prioritize which ones are the most important. But from what I understand, that our cash flow, we have enough at this moment, and the cuts that we're making is to make sure that in the month of July, August, September, we don't run short on payroll. So I would expect that there will be, but if there are shortages in excess, then we have to make some more tough decisions. But I did not want to rush this process of paying something and then we don't have budget constraints in place going forward, because then we can have another issue that we find out on the back end, and we continue the cycle of moving a little bit faster than I would like to.
One other question, Trustee House. There will be no late payments on this bill since we didn't pay it, correct? We won't be charged any late fees on this bill?
On the invoice, it says there is the possibility of a late fee, and I want to say it was some percentage. I will say that this invoice is from services done in September of last year, and we did not get the invoice until March. So I feel that we will have some compromise to be reached on late fees if we didn't get the bill for 6 months to want to implement a late fee immediately. I wouldn't say it's reasonable, and I would be open to talking to the vendor if necessary about the late fee.
All right, that's what I was going to ask my next question. If it was services done in September and we're just receiving it in March, we need to find out from the vendor, where's the disconnect? Is it from the vendor or is it from our end? You need to find out where's the disconnect.
I agree with that. And that's also part of what I would be looking at as we talk about the policy moving forward for finance committee, because whether the vendor billed us or not, we know that we authorized the service. So we should have had something internally to trigger us to make sure that we're looking for a bill especially something of a larger size.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I totally agree with you, Trustee House. We budget for $75K and we spent $145K on tree trimming. So we was over budget by $70,000. My question is for Chris. Chris, who is responsible for checks and balance as it relates to payouts?
Each department head approves each expenditure to the department.
Hey, Chris, you're coming through a little bit low. Can you,
Is that better?
Much better.
So each expenditure has an approval by each department, and then depending on the dollar threshold, it goes up to succession order. So I believe it's 1,000 per department, and then anything over 1,000 requires either Janice or Elizabeth's approval. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I guess let me try to make sure I understood you. So basically, for tree trimming, and by being over $1,000, Elizabeth or Janice will head to write off on this? Will sign off on it?
It would have been first approved by Public Works, and then it would have gone to them for a secondary approval.
Okay, so they are responsible for the checks and balance of this item, the tree trimming.
In regards to approving the invoice, yes.
All right.
So we'll flush. I'll go further in the finance meeting. I won't go further than that. Trustee, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I want to whenever we can go over the warrant list, I got some questions.
Okay. Oh, we're on discussion for the warrant list. Please, shoot.
I have a question as well.
Okay, I'll go with Trustee Henyard. You have several questions, Trustee Henyard?
Yeah, she can go first. I
Would you
do.
mind
So.
yielding to Trustee Denton? Yes.
I just needed clarification. I'm looking at cleaning specialist Inc. for COVID cleaning for $6,500. But I'm also looking at, where did it go? Cleaning chemicals for $5,391 for state chemical solutions. And I'm trying to understand how do the, and then also on the cleaning for the COVID, I'm trying to understand what all did that cover? Did that cover Village Hall, Water Department, Public Works? So I'm trying to understand why we got two separate buildings here for cleaning. What did this $5,391 for state chemical solutions, what was that pertaining to? Does anyone have an idea?
Those were cleaning supplies that were purchased. Some, from what the invoice stated, were for COVID response cleaning for supplies for different departments for COVID. And then the cleaning specialist, that was cleaning of the police department for COVID.
So cleaning specialist is $6,500. That was the police department.
Yep.
But this state chemical solutions, that cleaned what? We spent $5,391 on supplies to clean what? That's
The varying departments. So it cleaned from fire to admin to public works.
Okay. Trustee, does that answer your question?
Yeah, he answered it, but I don't understand why we got two separate things, but okay.
Okay, now, well, I'll add a little. I had asked a question. Oh, Chief Mobley, if you want to.
Right, so Trustee, for the 6,500, that was after we had our first two employees test positive.
Okay.
I located, as soon as I found out, we was on the phone overnight trying to find a company to clean the police department and the entire fleet of vehicles. This is a company that we were already doing business with to treat our cells when we have accidents in the cells with the prisoners. And upon checking, they were the lowest that we came up with. We had one company come out and they wanted to charge the excess of $11,000. So CSI, they came out and did a walkthrough of the entire police department and counted the vehicles. That was the best price that we had, and we were already doing business with them. And per the two other companies, they were the cheapest. So we went with them on that. I think they came out the 2 days after, because they had obviously a lot of companies that they were tending to. They did the entire fleet of our vehicles and the station on inside and out. All the floors, the cells, sally ports, all the offices. They had 10 bodies to come out, and they were pretty much there to the excess of 10 hours.
Okay, so that took care of the police department for $6,500. The next thing, I don't know if you know about or was involved, but this cleaning chemicals for state chemical solution, that reverts back to that same situation, or this is something that your department billed? Or is this another department that billed this amount of money?
Well, if I can, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, because I asked about the cleaning. The cleaning chemicals are like the disinfectants, hand wipes, the sanitizers that will be distributed to all departments. So that's actual products that we would get to make sure on a daily basis employees can have stuff to be safe or be more thorough. The actual cleaning that the chief described is a company that came in and did the cleaning on our behalf.
Right.
Yep.
Also, we supplied them with the chemicals that they use.
We supply our employees with chemicals they used. So that's something that we're using daily. The supplies that people, it's kind of like the hand sanitizer and things like that.
Okay, that's all right.
And may I also interject, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, please.
So also to give some clarity, because I see everyone's talking about the amounts, I have already applied through the county and let them know. They said they are going to reimburse us for 75% of everything that we spend. So if we purchase things next year, we're not going to be able to submit for reimbursement. This is for all receipts that we accumulate as it relates to COVID. So if we're buying disinfectant, the cleaning that just took place over at the police department, all of this I've already applied, and they are aware that we're going to be submitting receipts. I submitted this a few weeks ago. I believe the deadline was April 14th. I submitted it prior to that. So we are now collecting all receipts, anything as it relates to COVID as far as trying to do prevention maintenance for our various departments. And also this chemical, whatever the chemical is, I don't know the compound, but it's supposed to kill anything related to COVID. Also, we do have to look at the fact that, heaven forbid somebody else gets it, an employee, myself, someone else in the village, we cannot afford to consistently clean the villages, the Melanie Fitness, whatever, the water department, have to go back in the police department again. So this is a chemical that we can consistently use, and it goes on any surface. So, and it's something that we have enough that it's going to last us if we need to for a year. So it's definitely worth the money. It's something that we just have to invest in because of what we're dealing with right now with the pandemic, to save lives and to be able to continue to service the residents in the community.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that all your questions, Trustee Denton, or anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Trustee Henyard?
Thank you. Chris, I got several questions. This first one is on page 3 for the Menards. I just was trying to understand the charges because it say supplies. Do you have a breakdown of like if it's Public Works or who purchased them?
In regards to a breakdown, the second set of numbers, so like the first one says 0141, that would be Public Works. 0121 would be Police. 22 is Fire. 51 is Water. 12 is General Administration.
Okay. And my other question is, do we have an inventory process on supplies being bought from Menards? Like when somebody go bad, do y'all put it like a log, or how will we know if people taking up supplies home or utilizing them? Do y'all have a checks and balance for that?
Okay. Chris, would you have that, or would that maybe be the Public Works Superintendent?
That would be on each department who authorized the purchase. Also, as a reminder, some of these items may relate to fighting COVID-19. So some of these supplies are going to be for preventative or for fighting COVID-19. So cleaning supplies and those types of things.
No, this is not cleaning supplies. This is Menards. So you're saying these supplies, it just say supplies. So you saying these are cleaning supplies as well from Menards?
They could be. Also, they could be cleaning supplies. Because Menards does.
Y'all don't buy under one hub. You get what I'm saying? So it's not all over the place as it relates to cleaning supplies. I think if y'all don't, I should initiate that.
Okay. I think Administrator wants to
interject a little bit and shed some light on that.
Please do.
As of recently, Trustee, some of the supplies we did purchase from Menards. However, when people come back with the receipt, they put a GL code which specifies what department it's for. And from looking at the receipt and the POs that Janice receives, you are actually able to see what it's for specifically. I don't know if that helps some, but there's a GL code and that goes directly to the specific department and also what it's for. It gives a description on the actual purchase order that's attached to the receipt physically.
Trustee, did that answer your question?
It's okay. I'll go to the next one. Okay. I'll just go for your committee meeting. I'll just elaborate a little bit more. But the next one is, what page this? Page 4. Oderson, the legal services. Is that for Murphy? Or what is that for?
Trustee Henyard, I merged my practice with the Oderson firm about 2.5 months ago. So that's the new billing.
Also, we won't see your name no longer. We'll see them. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm one of the partners, but the old Rosenthal and Murphy,
Yeah.
yeah, that we dissolved that partnership because my other partners are dead.
Right. So what I'm saying is it'll just come under this name for you, for paying out for you as well.
Well, 90% of it's going to be just me because it's all my work for the village. It's just a new firm that I'm with.
Okay. So their name on here now is what this is for. This 11,000. Let me see. What's the amount?
It's for all the work I've done for the village in the last 2 months.
So that's you. Okay.
That's me. Yeah, it's me. I'm sorry.
But it's just their name.
Their
'Cause you're
name,
partners.
but stay tuned. Part of the deal is that the firm is going to say Odelson, Stirk, and Murphy.
Okay.
But it's all me.
Okay. The other one is on page 5. What is this? The software for 1,500 is basically $3,000. Was this software for the fire department or I don't know, public works, Chris?
What vendor?
Deca Tech LLC.
That's police department. Monthly
got-
maintenance software.
So every month costs this amount?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, the next one is the State Chemical Solutions, which she hit on that, so I could skip that. I'm on page 7. The PW shop, where am I at? Tifco Industries PW shop. Is that them just getting maintenance on their cars? What is that?
Some of that is for COVID-19, and then some, gotta look at what that GL code is. 1 second.
What do you mean? It's for their car? I'm lost. You said it's
Some
for
of it is,
COVID-19?
it's for COVID-19
I know, like what? For it, for what? For what? For
supplies.
vehicle-
I don't have the invoice in front of me.
Why y'all keep saying supplies? This do not say this. This say PW shop. What supplies? I don't want y'all keep hiding under supply. That's why I said y'all all over the place with all these supplies. What the supplies for what now? We done went through 4 different things that you keep saying supplies. So what supplies is this for?
See if I can get you, if I can find the invoice, because some I have electronically. These are gloves and sanitizer.
Hey, Chris, can you elaborate on why it would say PW shop as a description?
That's the description that's placed on the invoice.
So can I interject on that, please? I can explain that.
Okay, please.
So
do.
different departments, we all have to have masks. We all have to have gloves. At times, Public Works has gone out to obtain, gloves and masks from Menards. We get it from however we can get it. It's been really hard to find masks and gloves at times, especially on Amazon. We're not able to do that. We recently also applied for free PPE and we received that. But however we can get it, that's how we get it. If it comes from Menards, it comes from a company. But it's for gloves, masks. When we have to wipe down surfaces, paper towels is also included in that. So anything that you can think of that you would be using to clean, rubber gloves, disposable gloves, sponges, it's various cleaning items. That's all included.
Okay. So if y'all having a hard time getting gloves and masks, I know a supplier and they sell it to all municipalities at cost. So why are we going to stores?
Well, now we don't have a shortage because we have it. But at that time, when there was a big rush and everyone was frantically running out and buying up all the toilet paper and everything, if you went online and you looked and you even tried to buy something like the Lysol cleaning wipes, they were almost $90 on Amazon. So we were trying to go to different stores, different retailers, outlets, wherever we could get the best price, and we're grabbing it. And like I said, it's things that we will get reimbursed for through the county. But that's what that's for.
Okay. Well, I think y'all need to fix that supply chain because y'all got it too scattered on the warrant list. And different labels, and I'm thinking PW shop, a car getting worked on or something like that. And y'all saying this for gloves. So y'all got to get that together. I guess that's more so Chris' department since you accounting. My next question is for Law Office of Dennis Giannopoulos, the $15,000 for March. Is that for his entire services in March, or we owe him more money, or what is that? Because I thought we didn't have court.
I believe that's from January through March.
You sure or no?
I don't have the invoice in front of me, so I can't be 100% certain. I believe that's from January through March services.
Okay, well, let me know about that because I don't want to constantly pay out all these high amounts if we don't owe the money. My next one is for you guys, John Casparis, $28,000. Is that for, what's that for? Do you know that answer for you guys? Is that for 2 months, 1 month? What's that?
Give me, let me look.
And one more on that note, we gotta be, I know we have to be asking Casparis to take a reduction, and we have to look at reducing that amount every month. You know, I mean, me and Trustee House talked about that, but we got to do something. It's going into this COVID, we losing this money. That has to come down.
Well, I'll say I did. I spoke some with. Well, we talked in previous months too, and I spoke some today with Administrator Scott. I think the global solution that we were working for would be to find somebody to do the day-to-day, more of the data entry, some of the accounts payables and the payroll, and have Casparis Group to oversee that input. For having a CPA firm do that kind of work, we're paying an hourly rate in excess of $100 per month when we may be able to get somebody for $25, $30 an hour. I'm sorry, $100 per hour when we could get it for a lower cost. That has to be something that we move on, and we move on quickly, because I think that's a big portion of it. But having said that, I think just as we're talking with everybody about concessions, and as we mentioned that there are going to be some furloughs, that conversation, of course, has to be had.
Chris, you find the answer to my question?
Not yet. I gotta see where, I don't have access to the billing from here. So when I get to, I can look into it and get you an answer.
So you don't know why y'all charge us $28,000, and is that for just 1 month or several months? Do you know that at least?
I know that it's for work that we've done for you guys over the last month and a half, but I don't have the invoice in front of me, and I don't have access to the invoices from my computers.
Okay, well, look, I think you need to come here more equipped, because I'm gonna always have questions about this warrant list, and you never have an answer, especially as it relates to your billing of $28,000. I at least thought you could tell me, trustee, this is from April to May. You can't even tell me that. And then of the amount, because I know you guys are hourly from what Trustee House stated. You guys have to, I guess, come up with a set fee, because I see a lot of mistakes you guys make and we don't charge you for it. You guys charge us, such as the PW shop and its supplies for gloves. It's like little stuff that we have to catch, and we should not be doing so when we pay you the big bucks. Well, so please work on that.
Trustee.
Can I check y'all? Chris, you want to comment or have a comment? So I would say on that note, we definitely have to go through the warrant list. I don't, when I talk to them, I don't anticipate them coming with invoices for 10 pages worth of items. So I think it's kind of one of those that we both have to work hand in hand on asking the questions when we get the warrant list to make sure that we have it. But we do have to go over the questions and things so that we can make sure that when we're walking through this process, it can try to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, I don't expect, I'll just say for me, I don't expect that he would come in with 10 pages worth of invoices and be able to answer for each department. But having said that, we do want to make sure that the descriptions on there are as tight as possible, so that way some of the questions might be a little bit more smooth.
Okay, Trustee, who put this together?
Let me go to Chris on it, and then I'll come back to you, Trustee.
most invoices, the descriptions are based off of the POs that we receive. So whichever department head provides us the PO, we follow their description because they will know a lot more as to what they purchased and what it's for than we will. So if the description on the PO says PW shop, we just copy it there because they'll know a lot better than we will what those purchases were for.
Okay, trustee,
Okay.
you had a comment? I'm
Yeah.
coming to you. I'll come to you next, trustee Denton.
Okay.
Well, he kind of answered it because I wanted to ask who put this together. Someone put this together so it can go before the board. So when y'all put it together, we're voting on what you guys write. So I'm saying that make sure it's accurate and correct so that I'm giving the right vote per se. I have to ask a million more questions just to get gloves out of a PW shop. That's crazy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, trustee Denton.
I just wanted to make note that when we get the warrant list, it's a Friday. It's late Friday. When do we have time to actually delve into looking at invoices to see exactly what's going on? Then we wouldn't have, if we got it sooner, we could jump on it, delve into each individual item and get a clear understanding when it's time for the board meeting on Monday.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got this Friday evening. I got noted here 1926. Saturday, nobody's around. Who on call Saturday and Sunday?
Well, I will say this. I concede your point. So we can talk. I'll say let's elaborate some on that point in terms of timing in the finance committee. I know I've spoken some with Chris through the weekend, but I don't think that's a reasonable expectation for all of us. So I agree with you, and let's see if we can get a time frame that we can all agree with to allow more time for questions and to go over it prior to the meeting.
Very good.
If that's fine. Chris, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's reasonable. Just this billing was a little bit more difficult in part because some of the invoices were for large items. So we have to verify whether you guys should actually have to pay them for this billing or if you guys had paid them all completely. So some of these items that we had to finalize those items before we could create the warrant list.
Okay, so if I'm going to recap, we're going to pick a date at the finance committee meeting a day prior that the list will be out, and if it's not out by that day, we should expect a lot of questions on Monday.
I got one question.
Okay, trustee Steve.
One question now: has this for the trustees who've been on longer than me? Is this the normal time that it's been coming out for the past few years, or is this
no?
It's not, never have.
No,
it used to come earlier than this.
Yes.
We did. We used to either get it Wednesday or Thursday. Mary Kay chose to give it to us on a Friday about 3 o'clock. That's terrible.
Well,
Jason, you seem like trustee House. You seem like you disagree.
Well, I think it's kind of varied. Well, the list comes from Janice, so I wouldn't say that this doesn't come in conjunction with our agenda. The board agenda comes at one time. The warrant list has not had a set time. So
yes, thank you, trustee.
Yeah, some days have come, sometimes it's come as soon as Wednesday, Thursday. Other times it's come Friday or Saturday morning. So I don't think there's been any consistency with it, as far as I recall. But I think if we set a time that we all meet, and if it doesn't come out by that time, then we should expect that on Monday we're going to have a lot of questions about bills.
Trustee House, so it basically comes from Janice.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, she's the one that sends the email.
Right,
The
to Chris.
input, the input, all of the bills come in to Chris. He puts it into the system, and then and Janice gets that form and emails it out to us.
Okay.
And I mean, if we can get it out of, like I said, we all agree on a certain time to get it out. And I know Janice or Chris, Janice especially is that she's always accessible. She's easy to ask her. I call her and say, what's this? What's that? What's this? So we said, I say we all agree on the time when it should come out and go from there.
Okay, but let's make sure that we're getting input as well from Janice and Chris, because we also have to be mindful that we don't want to have 6 people calling one employee, and then so where they might say a Wednesday. So it has to be something we're all working together on it. But we shouldn't get it on a Friday evening. I can go. I see that point too. So
one last thing, if we can probably do more in the description area, then you will have less questions. say in the
asked
description
this.
area that's on the warrant list, if you can put more detail in the description, we'll have less questions come, the day of the board meeting.
I asked that.
Well,
Okay.
one more question, Trustee House. I can see your face.
I was about to mess with Trustee Henry. She asked for a lot.
Yeah. The question I have is, being that we have to get somebody, a conspiracy billing can get crazy. So even if we ask them to put the description, is this something that we can have in-house people do versus having conspiracy do it, so they won't bill us for that as well?
And that's kind of what we touched on, the plan or the intention, and I think that's something that Kaspirik along with Chris has been recommended. So it's been recommended to us for some time, and we have not hired anybody yet. Would be that we hire somebody to do those the payroll and the accounts payable services, and allow Kaspirik Group to oversee them. And if we do that, I think we can see we'll see a reduction in what we're paying to Kaspirik's Group, and they've been on board with that for some time. So I don't think that's probably an initiative we need to move on sooner than later.
Okay.
Trustee Henry, do you have any other items on your question?
No, that was the last one, the $6,500 one. Trustee didn't ask the question about it, so I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions about corporate bills? Okay, so if I can ask, Madam Clerk, do we do a roll call now?
Yes. On the motion to approve the corporate bills, minus the payment to Pekarsky and Sons of $32,540. Motion by Trustee House, second by Trustee Henyard. Roll call, Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Steve.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Holmes.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 ayes.
Okay, next thing we have on the agenda is, oh no, there's no old business. I lost my agenda. Where's our new business here? Clerk Dugan, can you kind of elaborate on the new business for us? I think it's a retirement.
I will defer to Administrator Scott on that item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I've been in talks with several of the employees, some of which are close to retiring. And this ties into our budget and the revenue projections and monetary cuts that we've had to make. In doing so, we recognize that laying off people, furlough days, there just isn't enough, right? So one of the things that I've been doing is reaching out to individuals in various departments to see if they are interested in early retirement. I have this one gentleman who is willing to retire. Captain, it's actually Dave Alvarado. He is looking to early retire. Part of the agreement in his early retirement agreement was that we leave him on the village insurance for 2 years. He agreed to pay his premium to stay on the village insurance, but it would save us a tremendous amount of money. When you look, just to give you an example, when we had to lay off, including the crossing guards, we laid off approximately 30 people, and that only gave us around a $30,000 savings. And you're looking here with this one fireman, and his salary with his overtime was in excess of around $111,000. So that's money that we'll be saving from our payroll. That's about $100,000 a year that we'll be saving in allowing his early retirement. Is there anything, Attorney Murphy, you wanted to add?
No, we did this in collaboration with the union.
Yes, and I've been talking to Dave Duval, so the union is aware and they're in an agreement.
Okay. Does this require a board vote as well, or is this more of a heads up to some of the efforts that you've made on salary reduction?
It should be a vote because it is a contract.
Okay. Do we need to do a motion for this before we go into discussion, or?
Yeah, motion to approve the Alvarado retirement agreement.
Okay, I'll do the motion to approve Alvarado agreement.
Is there a
Second.
second?
I think we want to let the man retire. Hold on.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Second by trustee Steve.
Okay. So in discussion, any questions from the board?
I just had a quick question. I'm trying to figure out, we're gonna do this for everybody. Well, I've never done this before for someone that wanted to retire. I guess that's what my point is. What makes this so different?
Well, I think this is John Murphy. Good evening.
Mhm.
The insurance is the name of the game for everybody. And employees who might not otherwise retire or who might be willing to retire won't retire because they want to stay on the health insurance because of the desperate need for it. Please remember that policemen and firemen can retire at age 50 with 20 years of service. So there's, with a number of people we've been talking to, if it makes sense for us that somebody who wouldn't be retiring anyway, or who could hang on, as Deborah, who could hang on for some years, if we make this deal, then they're gone in 2 years and we save the money Elizabeth talked about. So one, this is not going to be a wall-to-wall practice. We'll have to evaluate each case as it comes along, but it's a combination of policemen and firemen have the ability to retire at a younger age, combined with, the village looking for ways to save money. Let me mention two things in connection with the agreement. One is that under the agreement, we're going to make sure that he continues to pay his share for this period of time, because it'll be a deduct from his retirement pension from the pension boards. We don't have to chase for his 15%. The other aspect is if he gets another job that pays benefits, we no longer have an obligation. So before your time, Deborah, we did a couple of these in the police department, and it's possible we'll be bringing more before the board because of the urgency.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Question, will this cut down on the overall manpower of the fire department by him retiring? And when you cut down the manpower, will that pick up overtime? Will that pick up in overtime? Will the overtime pick up?
So I think, is that more maybe for the administrator, or I don't know if we have our fire chief.
Administrator Scott, is that a
No,
question?
so I've been talking to Dave Duvall, who is the president for the union, and they're already, the reality is we're already a few men down. I think they're supposed to be staffed for their contract. It's 24. Right now, I believe they're at around 18. In saying that, we've also been discussing with them. A lot of the overtime is not derived from being short of individual bodies. It's the overtime for every department's different. For the fire department, we looked into it. A lot of the overtime is generated from vacation days and personal days. So I've also been in talks with the union in regards to that, just giving us some temporary relief. So to answer your question, no, it should not.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, if I could ask for a roll call.
On the motion to approve the Alvarado agreement, trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Steve.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Holmes.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, and then next thing up, mayor's reports. Well, in my long tenure as mayor, no. So, Administrator Scott, I don't know if you had any points you wanted to mention, or if there was anything that the mayor may have wanted to have included.
Giovanni.
No, so Attorney Murphy, I don't know if you want to interject, but he did not specifically leave me with anything that he wanted me to go over in regards to staffing and revenue projections. But Attorney Murphy, if you had anything to say, I can definitely add to it.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening again, everybody. We have two separate crises. The first is the health crisis, which we're dealing with as best as we can, not only in the village, but everywhere. The second is the financial crisis, which is on its way. Please remember that our tax revenues lag behind. For example, our sales tax revenue generally lag 3 or 4 months behind when somebody goes to the store and buys something. In other words, somebody buys product in February, the retailer pays that tax to the state at the end of March, and the state distributes it to the taxing bodies like us in May or even June. So we are on the verge of the economic tsunami that's going to hit us in the next couple of months. Sales tax, obviously, because of all retail being closed, is going to take a huge hit. We periodically, and I'm sure you may have seen them too, just from the press, have received bulletins from the governor's office or from the state comptroller's office. Even before the extension of stay-at-home for the month of May, the comptroller's office told us that don't expect our state revenues in a timely fashion, and that's primarily income tax as well as sales tax release. So she's telling us things are going to be slowed down. You saw from the governor's various releases the multi-billion-dollar deficit that the state faces, and about 10 days ago, Chairperson Preckwinkle estimated that Cook County is going to take a sales tax hit in the neighborhood of $200 million. So these problems are real and are going to get a lot worse. The board did a great job last year having a very tight budget, but this is going to be a tough one, guys. The two other points, when we think about generally when we hear the state or the county making a press release about taxpayer relief, any relief that's provided to the taxpayer hurts the taxing bodies because we depend on taxes. Another thing we're very concerned about projecting is the second installment of the property tax. We've talked about in years past that our collection rate is down. Before the last real estate crisis, our collection rate was pretty good, almost like 92, 93%. Last year, we only collected 82% or thereabouts, which means that, using a hypothetical number, if we levy $10 million in property taxes, we only collect $8.2 million. So we expect that two things in that regard. Nobody be surprised if the county gives an extension for paying the property tax. Ordinarily, the second installment is due mid to late July, with about a month or 6 weeks after that for the taxpayers to pay, and then the money comes into us about a month later. So we usually get our big infusion of second installment property tax early fall, September, mid-September, sometimes late September. We need to be prepared that those tax receipts will be delayed, which will create a much larger stress on our budget. In addition, we've seen in the paper that there's a big push in Congress and among the banks that there be forbearance, meaning that people be given a break and not making their mortgage payments. Well, remember, for practically everybody, your property tax payment, your periodic property tax payment is built into the mortgage payment. So we're concerned that our actual property tax receipts, revenues will be declined to an extent beyond last year. So, but all of these are variables we don't know about. And if even half of what we're concerned about comes to fruition, we are going to be in big, big trouble. So that's why we cannot wait until the summer or the fall to take some of these very difficult employment decisions. We've got to plan now so we can stretch our dollar as long as we can. There's movement in Congress to try to get some direct relief to the cities and villages through direct grants like what happened with the small businesses. Nobody knows whether that's going to hit or not. If any, you've seen in some of the media accounts, people in Washington, D.C., certainly on the Republican side, are not crazy about helping out the state of Illinois. So all of these are variables. There's no track record. There's no past practice that we can predict. So I just think for my purposes, myself and Elizabeth have been meeting with all the unions. Everybody, whether they like it or not, has to be familiar, has to be aware of the new reality. So, excuse me, we're going to keep plugging away, but it's an ongoing thing. We just don't know yet how bad the revenue loss is going to be, but it's going to be bad. Elizabeth?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, John? Did you just ask me
No,
a
he was
question?
just referring it back to you if you had any other
Anything you wanted to add?
No, I really don't have anything to add as far as that goes. We can talk a little further in detail, I guess, at the next finance committee meeting. But I am we're speaking to a few more people. I have another individual in the fire department that is a chief that is also considering early retiring. But he has to, talk to his family, and he said he would get back to me.
Oh, Jason?
Yes, sir.
One other thing I wanted to add, we've talked about water relief and giving relief to our homeowners. I've communicated twice with the city of Chicago, essentially asking for some relief or some forbearance on the payments we're making under the settlement agreement. Everybody recalls that. So I have not heard any response, but we're managing to stay current. I just want to do everything we can to preserve that deal, because the way we negotiated that deal, if we stay current with the city of Chicago for, I believe it's 8 out of the 13 years of repayment, the city will waive several $1 million worth of accrued interest. So it's a huge long-term issue for the village, but nobody anticipated this thing. So I'll keep the board posted on that.
Thank you very much for that.
And Attorney Murphy, do you have any idea what that looks like if they do decide to give us some relief? Do you have any from past history, or sort of what would that look like?
There's no past history. I've talked to a couple people at the Illinois Municipal League which I don't think is fair to the south suburbs, that they're talking about giving, if you're talking about federal money to the cities and villages, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about if the city of Chicago is willing to give us some relief on the burden, the debt that we owe them. What do you have any idea what that looks like?
No, we haven't done it yet. I've reached out to the Corp Council, have not gotten into oral discussions with them yet. Yeah. But it would just be probably just to relax our repayment schedule for a period of time till we get everybody back online. We see where we're going. Yeah. But I wanted to mention, I started to say something about if there's going to be federal relief to the cities and villages. From what I've heard from the Illinois Municipal League, the concept that's being discussed would be a per capita payment to each city and village, which I don't think is fair to the south suburbs. That would mean if it's per capita, that a North Shore town like Wilmette that has the same population as Dalton would be getting the same money. That's not fair. That's not fair to our area.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Okay. Thanks, Administrator Scott, Attorney Murphy. Last but definitely not least, we're going to go into citizens address. So I'm going to ask Giovanni, are you still with us?
Oh, wait, excuse me. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. I have one more that was under the village administrator on the second page, the census update.
Oh, census update. Okay, please do.
So a couple months ago, I applied for the census. We did receive census money. The sub-grant amount was $13,105.13. So we are going to be expecting that check probably within the next couple months. However, Whatever money we do not use, we have to send back. We have a date of, I think it was until June 30th. So we're going to be sending out a lot of information via mail. Obviously, a lot of the events that we had planned and that I had incorporated when I was asking for the money for the census will not take place anymore. So we will be finding other creative ways, but we will be doing mailers and possibly boots to the ground to just get the word out and knock on the doors and just put information, not to necessarily make contact with people, but to get the word out. And I just wanted to tell everyone who's out there, if you have not filled out the census, we do need you to fill out the census, as Attorney Murphy just stated, per capita. So if you do not apply for the census and things of that nature, it will affect things, including any type of assistance with daycare, monetary food stamps, any kind of relief that we would receive for the government, including infrastructure. So I wanted to just say that as of today, there's been about 61% of households across Illinois. Specifically in Cook County, only 56% have responded. And as it relates to Dalton, we've had about 56% of the residents do the self-response in the hard-to-count areas, which Dalton is one of the 15 Southland communities with hard-to-hit count areas. So we will be doing more marketing. We're going to be sending out information in the mail, and we will be leaving flyers on doors. So please continue to fill out the census. It's really important for the money that we receive for the community. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
One more question, Administrator Scott. Is there anything else? I remember you talked about. Is there anything else that you're working on that you would like to let the board know, or not at this time?
Actually, yes. So I applied for the comprehensive plan. I think that was sometime at the end of last year. We did receive it. Comprehensive plans typically run around $100,000. We received the comprehensive plan award. We do, however, have to pay a small amount. I think it's less than $7,000, maybe $6,000 for our part. The rest of the money is going to be paid for through CMAP because we are considered a cohort 4 community, but we will also, including in that, we're supposed to get someone who is going to assist me in writing grants. From what I was told, that person may be available to me like 2 to 3 days a week for a certain amount of time. So I'm going to get the details on that. And I'm not sure when we're going to start because clearly we're short-staffed. And one of the requirements in receiving this grant was that I had people in the office that were going to help me to compile information about infrastructure, flooding, and street lights and all of that nature. So because there's just so much more put on us in the office, we may have to put that off for a time, but we were awarded the comprehensive plan, so I'm really excited so we can get an updated one and one that's more geared to the specific needs of the community and things that are going on now. Thank you.
Administrator, on that one, is that something that volunteers could do, or is that something you think we need more of an employee?
I think for a lot of it, we're going to need an employee just because of the information and the fact that we might have to pull the information from files.
Okay.
So that's information like I would have to get from Matt Stacy and other people in the department like Janice, myself, housing. Yeah, well, it's going to be a lot of staff, and it's a plan that's going to probably take 2 years to complete. It's a long-term project.
Thank you for that feedback. Okay, so closing that, we're going to go to our citizens address.
Mr. Chairman, can I have one moment before, just very briefly?
Absolutely.
2 things. I've got to jump off here because I've got to jump onto another virtual board meeting. So if any resident questions end up having legal requirements or issues to address, I'll catch up with Elizabeth tomorrow and get those answers.
Okay.
Secondly, everybody's got my new email address just from Mary Kay's distribution. So feel free to email me if anybody's got any questions. My cell number remains the same. So everybody's got my cell. So if anybody has any questions of any kind with these very challenging times, just feel free to hit me up.
Okay, thanks for that, John. All right, so going to citizens address. Giovanni, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So we have about 12 questions that have come in. I'll just read them in the order in which they were received. The
Okay.
first one is, how are the village bills being paid, and was a warrant list submitted?
Well, yes, a warrant list was submitted. I'm not sure if I understand the question. How are they being paid? So, to the best of my ability, I'll answer that. They're being the invoices come in. They go to the finance department. He inputs them in our system, and that generates the warrant list. Once approved, then the checks go out.
Okay. Give me a second. The next question is, did the village receive any payroll protection program funds?
That's the
Um,
PP.
Yeah, the PPP municipalities are not eligible for that program. That program was geared towards corporations, not for profits. So the municipalities do not qualify for that program.
Okay, next question. What agreement does the Dalton Chamber of Commerce have with the Village of Dalton that you guys are moving dollars in the manner with two parties?
The agreement or the ordinance that we have, and I'll ask Clerk Dugan to clarify for me if I get this incorrect, it would be that with the business license, $100 of the license is inclusion in the Dalton Chamber of Commerce. And so the $100 from the business license fees are being transferred to the chamber in an effort for the chamber to do great things for the village. Now, having said that, because we've discussed it's in the chamber being largely inactive, that's why it will be up for discussion on the next committee meeting. However, the intention or the hope will be that we had a thriving chamber of commerce by passing that ordinance.
Yeah, and then I can get at the finance committee. We can talk to Jonah from the Chamber of Commerce and maybe get them to come in as well.
Well, I was going to put it on committee of the whole, but if you don't mind, Trustee Steve, reaching out to them and ask them to come and I've had communication with their vice chair, but I'm going to ask either one to come in and speak up on their behalf.
All right. What are the short-term and long-term fiscal plans for the Village of Dalton?
That one, I will ask that we, not that we avoid that question. I think that's one that we'll leave. I'll ask that Administrator Scott kind of hold that to the side for that we bring the mayor in on that, because that he sets a lot of the direction for where we go, and then the finance committee, we also work to support it. So I think that's one that we'll want to make sure that we readdress through the finance committee or at the next village board meeting.
Okay, and then I'll highlight it and just send the list of the ones that don't get answered tonight.
Okay, and if you can send that to the mayor as well, please.
Okay, the next one is, can the housing report include an outlook on our housing market in 2 years, 5 years, and 20 years?
All right. Trustee Brown, I'm not sure if we still have her with. Oh, you're on mute. Can't hear you.
I will get with our housing department, Sharon, and we'll put together an outlook as to where the village is planning to go and where we will be in 2, 5, and 20 years from now.
Okay. The next question.
So this question is addressed to Mayor Rogers and myself. I'll read it. He's not here, but I'll still read it. It says, can the mayor provide a weekly address on our COVID numbers, resources, update, review, or stay-at-home orders, then take a few questions? That's also from Ms. Nixon, which is referring to me.
Okay. Did you say you were gonna respond to that as well, or?
I mean, I'm definitely not speaking on behalf of Mayor Rogers, but with regard to the weekly address on the COVID numbers, the most recent COVID numbers I posted were on May 1st. So on our social media channels, and also for the almost 1,000 people that we have on our email listserv, I've been sharing those as they become available. So that information is up. And let's see what else. When the question is about resources, we've been participating in the Thornridge High School meal giveaway. So every day from 11 to 12:30 in front of Village Hall, residents can drive up to get meals. That's happening every day, Monday through Friday, and that's been happening since March. Also, Mayor Rogers is partnered with 8 small businesses for an 8-week initiative. And so for the past 3 weeks, we've been doing food giveaways in the Village of Dalton. And we'll be continuing doing that for the next 5 weeks. So that's another giveaway. Also, in terms of masks, Mayor Rogers announced on April 11th that he was giving away masks to those who needed it in the village. And so far, the initial delivery was a little bit over 600. We've still been receiving more requests. And as of now, we've given away about 850-ish. I don't have the exact spreadsheet, but that's a mask giveaway. And if anyone is still needing masks, we're taking names so that when more come in, we'll be able to deliver more once they become available. Also, in regard to the stay-at-home order, because I know that there have been some times where when we have food giveaways or free resources for residents, sometimes people say, oh no, no one should be leaving the house. That's a violation of the governor's stay-at-home order, which is actually not accurate. So just to clarify that so that people have a better understanding, the full stay-at-home order is listed on Governor Pritzker's website. It's an 11-page document. I've also provided the link for it on our social channels and in our email list. If anyone needs help accessing it, they can call the office at 708-201-2960. But I do have it right in front of me here because it comes up often. And according to Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order, verbatim, it says in Section 5B, which lists essential activities, stating essential activities are permitted to obtain necessary services or supplies for family or household members, or to deliver services or supplies to others, such as by way of example, without limitation, groceries and food, household consumer products, supplies, things needed to work from home, products necessary to maintain safety, sanitation, and essential operation for residences. So I just wanted to reference that because leaving the house for food or grocery is considered essential and is something that is permitted under Governor Pritzker's order. So
if I can, I just kind of want to recap because I think the question at its core started off with about weekly updates.
For the COVID.
So, what I would kind of suggest in terms of, because I think you take a couple of questions that I think the mayor is better position to answer. So maybe giving him, thank you, of course, for your input, and then maybe provide the questions to the mayor so that at our next board meeting, he can also kind of elaborate on that because there may be something that the resident was specifically seeking from him. So we want to make sure that he has that at our next board meeting. If he so chooses, he can respond on those issues as well.
Okay, I'll highlight that question as well too, along with the other one. And the next question is, will the village be selling new vehicle stickers in June? And if so, when will they become available?
Okay, Administrator Scott, do you have an answer for that one?
Yes, I believe we start selling them the end of May. We're on schedule. I spoke with Janice. She's the one who's handling purchasing. She ordered them. So everything is on track from her end. I just spoke with her about that the other day. So she is on track with that, and we are going to be selling stickers.
Okay. Now, with that one, I would say too, and I think communication is going to be key here because I don't think we need to push back some of the dates of things that we have. However, for anybody that's having a hardship, I want the residents to kind of step up and work with the administration or communicate. So that way, on a case-by-case basis, people can make arrangements. But I wouldn't suggest doing a blanket pushback of any items or any fees with the assumption that everybody has the same impact. So we want to be mindful of people's situation and work with them, but I don't suggest pushing back any dates with just summarily. Okay, Giovanni, any other questions on there?
Yep, we have about 4 more left. It says, are we going to get a water bill when it's due?
So I'm going to rephrase that question to the best that I understand, and I'll ask administrator to answer. So our water bills still being processed, although there's a moratorium on shutoffs?
So to my knowledge, they are, but I'm not actually in a position to answer that. Sonia would should actually answer that.
Okay. So if you can, Giovanni, can you highlight that one as another follow-up?
Okay, sure. The next one is, they stated the other day that staff was laid off work. How was the layoff conducted by each department? And why would we lose people in the water department to keep a media person?
Okay, so I can answer that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not actually selected, so to speak. It was a systematic move that we made. Systematic meaning it was done by seniority. So there's things like union contracts, and in order for us to do layoffs, we have to do them in a systematic way to avoid litigation. One decision that we made was, in doing layoffs, the crossing guards, those were the majority of the people who were laid off. We do not have school, so it doesn't make sense to pay the crossing guards while the school isn't in session. So they were laid off. We also had to make some difficult decisions in laying off people who were non-union. We cannot lay off union employees until we lay off all part-time non-union. So that's where we started. Melanie Fitness isn't open right now. So there was no point in us continuing to pay the employees of Melanie Fitness. So that's how the decisions were generated. And to be quite honest, in speaking with the mayor and Attorney Murphy, we may have to do more layoffs. We also, the mayor wanted to do furlough days. I myself, I'm taking a pay cut. Several other employees that are non-union that are in the village, we are all taking pay cuts. So that's another thing that's taking place right now. And we may have to do more layoffs as needed. We don't know what's going to happen with this pandemic. We can plan all we want, but at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. There was also talk about the pandemic popping up again this winter. So there's a lot of factors that have to be taken into place. I don't know how long we're going to have to take furlough days, but we are taking furlough days, and I'm one of them.
Mary Kay.
Yes.
In recognition of what has just been said, please, for the record, note that these decisions were not made by the trustees, because my name is already in a litigation and I can't be putting another litigation about these layoffs. Go make that clear. Not
Duly
involved. For the record, Tiffany, for the record.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Speak, trustee.
Okay.
All right, we have another question. The question is it really safe to let firefighters go because the trucks have been nonstop for the last 60 days?
Okay, repeat that. Is it safe for to let firefighters?
Is it safe to let firefighters go because their trucks have been nonstop for the last 60 days?
Administrator, you have a comment on that? I may kind of add to it.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
The question is it safe to let firefighters go and their trucks have been nonstop for 60 days? So it sounds like the person is just saying the fire department seems relatively busy. Is it really safe to let firefighters go?
No, so they're not permitted from taking days off. And let me say that, there's Kelly days. Firemen do not work back to back, day to day. They'll work a day and they're off for so many days. So they're definitely not, it's not a case of them being exhausted, or I'm not sure exactly where they're going with the question, but no. And the other thing is that these are people that were looking to retire next year. So we're not laying off anybody. These aren't layoffs. The Alvarado situation was not a layoff. That's simply an early retirement. He was going to be leaving in a couple years, and this is just incentive to clean the books. Our payroll right now runs approximately 460 to 480,000 every 2 weeks. So by Alvarado not being on the books, that $100 and some $1,000, that definitely helps.
So I'm gonna kind of chime a little bit in on that one. In terms of safe, it's not. I would say we're not in the best position in having less firefighters, but it's a balanced reality that we have to look at in terms of what can we afford and how do we maximize the money that we do have in the bank. So, and looking at some of the layoffs, these layoffs are the ones that have been brought on. I want to say, as Administrator Scott said, systematically based on the contract need. As we look into the budget, then we're going to have to look at what's the right staffing or what can we afford. So at this time, I think these are preemptive layoffs that have been done. As Trustee Denton mentioned, that the board has not had all input on that one, but they are preemptive in nature. And there's going to be ongoing revisions because we have to make sure that we can afford the people that we do have and find the best way to get as many people as possible out there. But the reality is, with less money, we're going to have less people. So we have to do the best that we can with the money that we have.
Okay, and that was the last question.
Okay.
Okay, I got one statement before we end.
All right. I'm going to get the last word today, though, Trustee.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you can go, but I'm going to say something afterwards just so I can say period.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. To my residents, to everybody that's listening and watching us, I just want y'all to use y'all common sense. If it's not important enough to put your family in jeopardy, don't go out. Don't do it. The only things you should be going outside for is grocery stores, maybe some gas, but just a grocery store, really. Essential needs. Maybe sometimes you might have a doctor appointment. I don't know if they open that up yet, but don't go out for little things. And the reason why I keep saying that and mention that is no one else is hosting food giveaways, inviting thousands of people in one location to come and basically put their family or loved one at risk. So people can read all day long what they feel essential is. That's why I'm trying to tell you, use your common sense. You know what essential is. So with that being said, ask yourself, why do we have people on payroll, because we pay people, to advertise strictly for the mayor? Nobody else get advertisement or Facebook time or social media time, but we advertise everything the mayor does. But there's other people on this board that does things too, just so y'all know. But nobody else get advertised, but we're using taxpayer dollars to promote basically one person, push one person's agenda. Protect yourselves, use your common sense, and protect your families at all costs, you guys. Remember that. Thank you.
Okay. I want to say something.
Trustee House, can I have 1 second? Trustee House, 1 second.
I just said I'm gonna get the last word, but
okay,
you guys can have all the words you want.
You're gonna get the last word, but just let me say this to my question.
Be my guest.
As far as the housing department, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years down the line, that's unpredictable. We don't know where we're going to be 2 years, 5 years, 20 years down the line as far as housing. That's definitely unpredictable. You know, we don't know who's moving in, who's moving out. That's something that changes and revolves every day. So my answer to that question is unpredictable. We don't know where we're going to be as far as housing in the next couple of years to come.
Okay. Just to put on record too, that's Trustee Brown, without your picture up there, I don't know if it picks up on the Zoom. So
yeah, put your camera on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right. We just wanted to make sure we can see your smiling face. But I think Trustee Steve, you had another comment.
I want to say you know, it's a serious time that we're living in, and you know, I think our state rep Will Davis and Napoleon Harris just did a big thing on Sibley at Napoleon Harris spot, and there was thousands of people lined up. I know University Park did something, and I'm gonna say that, and I'm out there when the mayor does his things, and when I say people are sincerely, I don't see a lot of people just like, I'm gonna just go get a random piece of chicken. People sincerely need it. So at this time, there's people who are hurting, and there's other fellow trustees doing so. I know Andrew Holmes does some, Tiffany does some. As long as we're helping people, that's what's most important. People are losing jobs. People don't have food. People are just missing a meal. When I see people come up there and just get a meal, people are really appreciative for that meal. So it's anything that you can do, that you're doing, that anybody's doing to help these people, help our residents, to service our residents is a good thing, regardless of if it's just a meal or you're giving out dinners or stopping it at the house. Whatever you can do to help people in this day and time, because people are losing their job. If you look at, I was at the Village Hall the other day, you have people, the employees talking about whether I'm gonna take furlough days or take early retirement. These are life decisions people are making right now. And sometimes a meal can help. Sometimes just a small meal can help. I've seen it. I'm not telling you what I think. I've seen people come get that meal and really be appreciative and say, man, I needed this. Thank y'all so much. So if you're doing good, I learned this from Trustee House. If everybody's doing something, the key thing is helping people. And that's what we try to strive to be about. And I think there's some more. I know there's some more. I know I've seen Willie Wilson passing out a lot of masks and stuff like that in these separate towns, and people are lining up. And the cool thing is they're driving up in their car. You don't have to get up. You drive in your car, you get it, and you keep it moving. So let's continue to do what we can to help our residents and help people that we know, because this day and time is really people are really struggling right now. And as you can see with the village finances, what we're about to go through, and even look at Melanie Fitness, you got trainers and stuff, they're not getting paid, and that was their livelihood. So a lot of people are out of work right now, and you know that we expected the PPE or to go to freelancers, because I'm a freelancer, but they didn't give no freelancers nothing, not as of yet. So there's a lot of people hurting. So anything that people can do to help, it has to be just let's keep doing it. And me myself, I can't put myself in no position or predicament, because I got a family, I got the responsibilities, and I got pre-existing conditions. But I want to put myself in the best condition where if I got to help somebody, I can help without jeopardizing myself.
Okay. Trustee Steve, just remember, it's all about safety. You always remember that. But then remember what you just said. Any little thing to do to help people. Remember that when y'all get ready to try to shut off people's water bills. So when they calling, don't be like, well, they gotta pay, Tiffany. Remember, any little bit to help people. Remember that.
That's true. And that's why for water bills, and we talked about the finance meeting, we should do something where everybody's qualifies for a payment plan. We have to work out something. But then you, at the same time, if you use the water, you have to pay for it. But we have to figure out the best way to help these people pay for their water bill so they can pay for it, but they don't put the village at a bad place where we can't pay our bills, but then we got to help the residents at the same time. So it goes both ways.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody, both of you, for your comments, and everybody for your time, residents that have chimed in. I did have 2 text messages that came through. I think there was some having a difficult time on the YouTube. So I'm just going to read those off, but those will kind of go more into the finance committee. One resident asked if we can track COVID-19 related expenses from the start to the end, so that by the time that this concludes, we'll know how much we spent on there. We're going to discuss that more. I don't know if that's something we will be able to do right away, but that may take some time, but we'll work on that and we'll update in the finance committee meeting. Another resident made a comment about the purchase orders or bringing the invoices to the board meeting. We will also discuss that, and I'll put that down for our finance committee meeting. I do want to thank all the board members for all the comments, thoughts, the sincerity, and our gestures to move forward, as well as the residents for the chime in. So we really want to make sure that we get have everybody safe, happy, healthy, and let's keep pushing each other to do better. So bless everybody, and I'll call the meeting. Oh, we have to take a roll call.
Yes,
Oh, I want to have a hammer. So can we do a roll call, please? I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
I second.
Trustee, second by trustee Denton. Okay, on the motion to adjourn, trustee Denton,
Aye.
trustee Steve,
Aye.
trustee House,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Holmes. Are you there, trustee Holmes? Must have left the meeting. Trustee Henyard,
Aye.
5 ayes. We are adjourned at 8:42 p.m.
All right.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
everybody.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Elizabeth. Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone. Take care. Be safe.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Anyways.